Okay, hi everyone. So for actually, I don't think this video is just being shown to the teacher. Okay, so for my presentation, I chose the Fourth Amendment, which is a person's right. Let me read this so I make sure I get it correct. So, the Fourth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution protects an individual against unreasonable search and seizures by the government, and it ensures their privacy in their own home, in their own persons, in their cars, papers, everything else. It's like your privacy rights. Like you don't have to say nothing. It's your privacy rights. So that leads me to the case I chose. I chose the case of the United States versus Jones, 2012. So let me give you a little background. The case investigation started in 2004 when Antoine Jones was suspected by police in the District of Columbia for drug. Oh, I forgot. This is in D.C. and like some surrounding parts of D.C. too, but mostly in D.C. So he was suspected of drug trafficking, and investigators had asked and received a warrant to attach a GPS device to the underside of his car. And the warrant, I believe, was only for DC, and it was for 10 days. The warrant then proceeded to exceed its own scope, geography-wise and time-wise, because then they started tracking this man into Maryland and into other states surrounding DC. Sorry, I'm not a good geographer. And it also ended up tracking him for 4 whole weeks. 4. That's 28 days of tracking him, which was insane because the warrant, like I said earlier, was for 10 days. So, kind of crazy cuckoo. But the GPS would track this vehicle's movement for 24 hours a day for the entire 4 weeks. So, if you're going to church, you're going home, you're going to the hospital, you're going to an appointment, you're going to anything, that GPS knows where you are. And the information was going back to the FBI. The government was seeing all this information. And at the time, this was not a violation of their Fourth Amendment rights for some reason. Like, it was not considered a violation. And I think that was crazy. I think it was just a lack of involvement, but I'll get into that later. So, then the FBI arrested Jones in late 2005 based on the locations to which the vehicle was tracked. They arrested him with conspiracy to distribute narcotics. He was tried in criminal court in late 2006, and they had been deadlocked on the conspiracy charge. And, he was possessing a lot of drugs. Like, it was insanity. Like, he was sentenced to life in prison. I think, if I remember correctly, he was intending to distribute 5 or more kilograms of cocaine. And then I think he also had cocaine base too. And I think that was a little more. I think that was around like 40 or 50, maybe more grams of cocaine base. So he was sentenced to life in prison. And then, later on, he argued that his criminal conviction should be overturned because of the use of the GPS tracker had violated the Fourth Amendment protection against unreasonable search and seizure. The United States Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit had agreed with him and overturned his conviction, holding that the police arrest was a search because it violated Jones's reasonable expectation of privacy. It was just insane. And then the case got taken to the Supreme Court too, where they had said that yes, this was 100% a violation. Like, they had ruled unanimously that this was considered a search under the Fourth Amendment. They were split a little bit on like the fundamental reasons behind that conclusion, but the conclusion was unanimous. But yeah, that's how the summary of the case. And so then I'm going to get into like kind of the legal ethical implications of it. I'm following like the matrix thing that was on the canvas. I'm not too sure. Anyways, his conviction was overturned due to the agreement from the District Court of Appeals. Like, it was completely overturned. So he got out. And they couldn't have retrialed him because all of their evidence was from the GPS tracker, and that's how they got to everything else. So there was no way they could have retrialed him either way. And I think this teaches you that when you don't do things exactly by the books, you take the risk of a criminal being free. Because had they obtained a probable cause warrant and followed through exactly through time and geography wise of that warrant, this would have never happened. And I get the idea that it hadn't been that like sensational where the GPS tracker would have violated it in the first place. Like, I guess that wasn't really a mindset thing because, these were still pretty new. But I think the agents 100% should have been like, hey, this feels a little weird. Because I feel like even if you aren't that knowledgeable in GPS tracking, you would realize that, hey, this might not be in the Constitution. This might be unconstitutional. And double checked on that. But that's how I feel about that part of it. And if they had been honest about the whole GPS situation, I think they could have found another way. I think there would have been another way to get this guy into prison for drug trafficking. I don't think it would have been hard, especially with the resources that they were getting provided from the FBI. I don't think it would have been a hard case to solve at all. So then it leads me to my ideas of what officers, attorneys, and courts could have done to protect the defendant's rights in this case, because obviously their rights were violated. You were being tracked, your privacy was done, you were being trespassed. It was terrible. I think it would be fixing the core issue of obtaining a proper warrant. Like, obtaining one that was based on probable cause would have validated the tracking. And also, the 28-day surveillance was, like, exceptionally long without judicial oversight. A warrant should be followed through with the specific time frames and the specific geographical locations. That should have how it was done. The judge, if they had wanted, they should have issued the warrant for multiple states and figured out a way to do that. I don't know the legal process behind warrants for the most part. Like, I think I know the general idea of it. I don't know if you're able to issue a warrant across multiple states, but it should have been. Also, like, it's a federal operation. Why could they not have issued a federal warrant that was, like, for the entire United States? You're the FBI and you're in DC. I don't know what makes you think they weren't going to other states. So I think it should have been one that was issued for multiple states and, like, the entirety of East Coast. They were that concerned about it. Because most of the time I feel like drug traffickers who are distributing drugs don't usually stay within state lines. And DC is not that big of a state. It's not even a state. It's a U.S. territory. It's tiny. So that's just my take on that. And the time frame wise, 10 days would not have been enough. They should have done longer. They should have asked to maybe exceed the limits of the time longer, because that's an option, I think. Like, if you are reaching your warrant's expiration date, it is 100% an option to go to a judge and be like, hey, this warrant needs to be longer so that we could, reasonably search this guy and not violate his rights. So then it leads me to my important points that I want. Well, I don't really know if the class is going to see this video. Anyways, I think that the ruling established that law enforcement must obtain a search warrant before attaching GPS tracking devices to vehicles. Don't know why that wasn't a thing before 2012. Feel like that's kind of obvious. It gets the same way as if somebody wiretapped my phone right now, Anywho's, the case also addressed the dangers of technology-enabled long-term surveillance, and it indicated the continuous tracking reveals very intimate details of life. Like, whenever he was visiting doctors, churches, homes, like, that was all really intimate. Like, anything he did that was personal was being shown to the government, and that kind of stuff requires constitutional protection. Like, I don't know how it wasn't protected under the Constitution before the point of this case, because you are literally being tracked everywhere you go. Imagine driving to the gym every morning and the FBI just knows, oh, this guy's going to the gym and then he's going to get a Taco Bell afterwards. Like, what in the heck? I don't want people to know that I'm eating fast food after I go to the gym. Like, your life details that you want to keep private and personal are being shown to the entire, like, FBI. That's really strange, and that should 100% have been a constitutional right before this case ever took place. And had they had actually looked into the idea of the GPS situation being a violation of the Constitution before they arrested this guy, put him on the criminal trial, put him into prison, sentenced him and stuff like that, he would probably still be incarcerated, because they could have found another way to get this man off the streets, and they didn't even bother. Like, there was no like hesitation as to hey, this might be wrong. They just went for it. And I think that was kind of crazy. I'm not too sure. When I was looking into this case, I didn't like take notes on this part. I'm pretty sure the guy is still out and about, and I'm pretty sure he now works for a nonprofit and is like helping people or something like that. I don't know if it's drugs related or not, but it's a community outreach program, which I thought was really interesting. Like, I guess it takes one to know one in the community, but I think it's interesting that he turned his life around like that after suing the heck out of the government for violating his rights. I wasn't too sure if I did this assignment correctly. I hope I did. Um, if not, I'll just take the failing grade, but I don't really know if I did this assignment correctly. I also have the matrix template. I don't know if you want it or not. Just let me know if you want me to turn that in, because I wasn't too sure if that was something I needed to turn in or not. But yeah, I hope this presentation is not long enough. But yeah, okay, bye.